Trump's 13 promises, can they become reality? Donald Trump, a man who needs no introduction, and yet here we are forced to introduce him again. He's back on the campaign trail, promising to make America great again. This time, he's armed with a new set of promises, a baker's dozen of policy proposals, each more audacious than the last. From immigration to foreign policy, he's got a plan for everything. And this is a big, but how many of these promises are actually achievable? Are we talking about concrete policy proposals or just more of the same hot air we've come to expect? So buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Let's break down Trump's key pledges and their potential impact if he returns to the White House.
First up, let's talk about Trump's plan to give the federal workforce a makeover, or as he might call it, draining the swamp, Part 2. Essentially, he wants to replace thousands of government employees with what he's calling loyalists. Now, you don't need a PhD in political science to see the potential issues here. We're talking about mass layoffs based, seemingly, on political allegiance. Legally speaking, this would be a minefield, and logistically, it would be a nightmare. Imagine trying to fire and replace tens of thousands of people, many with specialized knowledge.
Next up on the agenda, Trump wants to slap a 10% tariff on every single thing imported into the United States. Think of it as a participation trophy for countries who want to sell things to Americans. The goal? To magically bring back American manufacturing and reduce our reliance on those pesky foreigners. Now, ignoring the fact that this goes against decades of economic policy, there's also the small matter of Congress. Higher prices for consumers, retaliatory tariffs from other countries, and a whole lot of economic uncertainty. But hey, at least we'll be making more spoons?
Now let's talk about immigration, or as Trump likes to call it, that thing I keep bringing up to distract you from my other failures. He's promised to launch the largest deportation campaign in American history, targeting millions of undocumented immigrants. We're talking about a logistical and humanitarian crisis of epic proportions. Rounding up and deporting millions of people would require an army of ICE agents, a fleet of buses, and enough paperwork to make a bureaucrat blush. And let's not forget the human cost.
Chapter 4. Freedom Cities, because who needs existing cities? In a move that can only be described as ambitious, Trump has proposed building brand new freedom cities on federal land. The idea is to address housing shortages and promote innovation. Now, on the surface, building a city from scratch might seem like a fun game of SimCity, but in reality, it's a bit more complicated than that. We're talking about massive infrastructure projects, environmental impact studies, and a whole lot of red tape. And let's not forget the cost.
Title: The Death Penalty for Drug Dealers, because nothing says tough on crime like state-sanctioned murder. In a move that would make even the most hardened drug warrior blush, Trump has proposed the death penalty for drug dealers. That's right, folks, we're going full Judge Dredd here. Now, putting aside the moral and ethical implications of the death penalty, there's also the small matter of the Constitution. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment.
Chapter 6 NATO, never heard of her Trump's guide to alienating allies. In the realm of foreign policy, Trump has once again set his sights on NATO, that pesky alliance that's been preventing World War III for the past few decades. He's hinted at withdrawing the US from the alliance, claiming it's obsolete and too expensive. Now, ignoring the fact that NATO has been instrumental in maintaining peace and stability in Europe, there's also the small matter of, global security. Withdrawing from NATO would send a clear message to our allies, you're on your own, and to our adversaries, it's open season. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day, and in a rare moment of lucidity, Trump has pledged to end the war in Ukraine. Now, how he plans to achieve this diplomatic miracle is anyone's guess.
Remember that big, beautiful wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for? Well, it's back, baby. Trump has vowed to finish building his border wall, despite the fact that it's already been a colossal waste of time and money. But hey, at least it'll create jobs for demolition crews in a few years when the whole thing starts crumbling.
Trump has promised to make America energy independent again, and his plan involves a heavy dose of fossil fuels. That's right, folks, we're going back to the future, a future powered by coal, oil, and gas. Now, while expanding domestic energy production might sound appealing, it comes at a cost. A cost to the environment, a cost to public health, and a cost to our future.
Chapter 10. Healthcare. Take 2. Because third time's the charm. Healthcare, that perennial political hot potato, is back on the agenda. Trump has promised to lower costs and improve care. But, well, his plan seems to involve a lot of hand-waving and wishful thinking. It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by yelling at it.
Education, the indoctrination years. Because who needs critical thinking skills? Trump has also set his sights on education, promising to reform the system and instill American values in students. It's like taking a time machine back to the 1950s, except without the cool cars and poodle skirts.
Chapter 12. Law and Order, the sequel. Because we didn't learn our lesson the first time. Trump has promised to crack down on crime and restore law and order, but his plan seems to involve a lot of the same tough-on-crime policies that have led to mass incarceration and racial disparities in the justice system.
Chapter 13. Veterans and mental health, the one area we can all agree on. In a rare moment of bipartisanship, Trump has promised to increase support for veterans and mental health services. Our veterans deserve the best care we can provide, and mental health is a critical issue that affects millions of Americans.
So there you have it, folks. Trump's 13 promises. Some are ambitious, some are controversial, and some are just plain crazy. But one thing is for sure, they will have a profound impact on the future of America. Whether that impact is positive or negative remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. We are in for a wild ride, so buckle up, stay informed, and most importantly, make your voice heard. The future of America depends on it. Stay informed, make your voice heard.